Thanks for watching State and Local. I'm Anne Marie Battistone, and we're on Norfolk Public Access. I have another candidate with me tonight, candidate for public office. Again, I just wanted to say, if you are a candidate for public office for the election on May 6th and you haven't been on the show and you'd like to be, call us here at the station. It's 520-2780, and they'll get in touch with me and I'll call you and we can arrange for it. Although I have talked to left messages with all the candidates, but there's still time to do an interview, so I just wanted to tell you that. And my guest is Mark Flaherty, and he is presently constable in the town of Norfolk, and he is running for re-election. Oh, Mark, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We were able to finally get you on here and be on the show. Now, you grew up in Norfolk, did you not?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you go to school? Did you go to the high school or?
I went to elementary school at the Freeman-Kennedy School. Miss Day was my principal, which shows a little bit of age right there. And then I left there and I went to a private Christian school for a few years.
Oh.
And then I went to Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School.
In Walpole?
In Franklin.
Oh, in Franklin. What did you take up there?
I started out with culinary arts, and I didn't feel like I was being challenged enough. I love to cook, and
Really?
it's kind of like a passion of mine. And I didn't feel like I was being challenged enough, so I decided to change course, and I ended up in metal fabrication.
Now, what is that?
Welding and stuff like that.
Okay. So did you ever work in that field?
I've worked in the culinary arts field, never in the welding field.
And where did you work? Were you a chef or a sous chef? Or
I've worked as a cook. I worked my way up from a dishwasher up to a prep cook to a line cook. In many places, I started at Glen Ellen Country Club. I've worked at Bertucci's. I've worked at several places.
Huh. Now, is that something you think eventually you'd go back to?
I would love to. I would actually love to end up having enough money to open up my own place, but it's a dream. You need a lot of money to open up a restaurant.
Okay, so you didn't actually you didn't graduate from King Philip then?
No.
Oh, I see. Because I'd heard you talking about, and you hadn't mentioned too much about King Philip, and I wondered if you'd gone to a private.
No, my brother and sister went to King Philip.
And now, this last year that you've been constable, was this your first time as a constable?
Yes.
What motivated you to want to be a constable?
Oh, when I first saw the position several years ago, I did a lot of research on it, and I felt that it seemed very interesting to me. And I had gone to the town clerk's office about pulling papers, and the two incumbents at the time were pretty well, I guess entrenched is the best word. And
who would that have been then? Paul Terrio?
Paul Terrio, and Paul Terrio is still an incumbent. And,
yes.
Now I can't remember the name of the other guy because I'm filling the last year of his position right now.
I can't remember any of names.
And and I was told they've been doing this for a while. If you're gonna run, you might as well pick something else because everyone knows them. They're gonna win. You're not really anybody in town. And it's true, I wasn't at the time. And so I decided to run for selectman because constable was out of the reach against Jim Lehan. So, and we all know how that one ended up.
Well, it's tough when you go up against somebody that's been in. I mean, because at that point, he had already served a term at least, hadn't he?
Yes. But, it got my name out there,
Right.
It got me into town politics. It got me more interested in what was going on. And, and then I ended up getting elected to the school committee, and then I got elected as constable.
Now, when you ran for school committee, was anybody against you at that time? Was it just an open seat?
There were 2 open seats, and there were 2 of us running.
Well, that's what I think a lot of people do. A lot of young people do, certainly, or not necessarily young. That if they put your name out, even if it's probably not a good chance that you're going to win. Then people know your name, and they've seen you speak and all of that. Now, tell me about being what is it being a constable consist of?
Constables are, in the state of Massachusetts, a constable is a form of a law enforcement officer. It's an elected law enforcement officer, basically. However, their primary duties are serving court papers, summonses, subpoenas, divorce papers, custody papers. You want to sue someone, you can hire the county sheriff or you can hire a constable to serve those papers to the person. There was a Supreme Court, something was from the Supreme Judicial Court of Harvey versus Granville, where one of the justices said, the general duties of a constable are to be vigilant, to preserve the peace, to prevent the commission of crime, and to arrest all offenders who might be arrested without a warrant, and to process warrants in other instances of crimes committed. And the term cop that we refer to police officers as derives from the acronym of Constables on Patrol.
Is that so?
Yes. And
well, that's an interesting thing.
The municipal police force that we know of today actually originally derived from the Constable Corps, and all the powers that they have were derived from constables. Constables are the oldest form of law enforcement in the state of Massachusetts, and probably in the country.
Oh, for goodness sake.
You know?
I always thought that had to do, now I feel very ignorant for even thinking this, but I always thought that had something to do with the Irish police, with their red hair, the coppery hair. That's where I thought it had. I didn't realize it was an acronym like that. That's amazing.
For the longest time, I actually thought that COP stood for Citizens on Patrol, because cops are citizens in the area, and especially back in the years ago, a lot of times they were all volunteer guys, just like the fire department were.
Right.
It was just a group of volunteers that said, hey, it's basically the modern day neighborhood watch.
Right.
But,
Now, what sort of, you were just sort of detailing some of the types. Are there different types of papers that you have to serve and do?
Yeah, there's all kinds of different papers. And, a lot of it, I'm still learning a lot of it myself. I've only been doing this a year. There's a lot of.
Now, how were you? Did you have to go for training? Did you when you first assumed the job?
No.
Did you just? How did you know what to do?
Most of what I know, I've learned from talking to people who have done the job, as well as looking up state laws about it, like the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 262, Section 8, which outlines the fees that constables can collect. There's everything that constables do is governed by laws. There's no room for me to say, well, I'm going to do this instead, or I'm going to charge this instead, because I can't do it.
Right.
If I do something wrong, then I'm accountable to the state, and I believe it would be accountable to the Attorney General, who would come after me for
fraud,
for doing something incorrectly, especially if it ended up, negating a conviction, or if I did something illegal.
Right.
While in the commission of doing my job. So
now, do attorneys contact you very much?
No, I haven't really put my name out to too many attorneys right now, because this was a position to fill a vacancy. And so I knew I was going to be doing this for a year. So right now, the duties of a constable for the town of Norfolk here is I'll post town warrants. I'll post the sample ballots for special elections or upcoming elections, which I've been doing. Again, it's a set fee that the town pays me for each one. And, so I've been working strictly for the town right now. After this election, when I'm starting to get
Now, how many years will this next one be?
This one is going to be 2 years. We're doing this as a 2-year term.
To stagger?
To stagger the constable races. Because if both constables are on the ballot at the same time, then we can't post the sample ballot and the warrant for that election.
So you'd have to call somebody in from another town?
Yes. And then our town would have to now pay someone from another town to post that warrant. And because the state would see it as a possible conflict of interest. If I'm posting notice of an election that I'm in, then someone could raise questions about that.
Right.
Now, I like to think that I'm an honest guy, and I would do it the same no matter who I posted it for, even whether or not I'm on the ballot.
But still.
Yeah. I'd rather things look right and be right than have there be some kind of question.
Exactly. Now, Mr. Terrio, how many years has he been in? When does he come up again?
He's up this year too. He's running unopposed this year.
Oh, that's right.
He's running
That's
unopposed for a
right.
3-year term.
That's why I didn't call him, because he's unopposed. I didn't call him the people who were unopposed. Jeff Palumbo is
Yeah.
that's never. Oh, all right. So that's what would be 2 years, and then you'd have, and there would be, and there's 2 slots in the
There's
town.
2 constables in town. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Paul Terrio and myself right now.
All righty.
I have an opponent and he does not.
Okay.
So
I see. Now, what do you feel about yourself that you feel you'd be a good constable? I mean, or you have been a good constable. What do you feel that's? Have you ever been in situations that? Well, now you, as you say, you've been mostly posting the.
For the town, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a history of public service in my past. I served in the United States Air Force.
Oh, did you?
For about 4 years.
Oh, my
as
goodness.
a crew chief on F-16s, which means I was an aircraft mechanic on fighter jets.
Oh, I didn't know. You must be older than you look.
Actually, today is my 34th birthday.
Oh my God! Well, happy birthday! What an
Thank you.
auspicious. Oh, you don't look 34 at all.
You know, and
Now, where were you serving? In
I was stationed at Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico.
for goodness sake.
You know, which is pretty much right past the middle of nowhere. I got to deploy in 2003 for Operation Iraqi Freedom. I had a blast a few times, almost literally.
Were you in Iraq?
I was in Saudi Arabia, about 50 kilometers outside of Iraq.
Oh my goodness! And what were you doing there?
I was deployed as what the Air Force calls a TCN escort, which is TCN stands for Third Country National. But when we got to the base that I was deployed to, we were working with security forces, which is the Air Force Police, and they made us all augmentees. So, for all intents and purposes, on my deployment, I was deployed as a cop. We did base security. We escorted people who were not U.S. citizens or had Saudi credentials to get onto the base to do their jobs. The people that were working at the barbershop, cutting hair, we had to have an escort there, an armed escort. We had to have one at the BX, which is basically the little shop.
Store, yes.
You know, and so if they were going to pick up the sewage from the latrines, you know, we had to escort them. You know, so it was very intense because it was a couple times where our K-9, who was trained in bomb sniffing, would trigger on a vehicle, which would indicate that there is at least a trace of explosives, which is really scary when you're like 5 feet away from that vehicle. And I had one instance where I was actually told, all right, this vehicle's been hit with a dog. We had to go inside and check and make sure there were no weapons of any kind. And you'd be surprised the knives that these guys would bring, like knives, like the blade this long. And the guy goes, for my lunch. I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
You can't have it. No, we wouldn't allow it because it was a weapon. You know.
Now, did you see? This is just kind of a crazy question, but did you get to see any of Saudi Arabia? Did you get to see any of the, at least from the outside, any of the homes or the palaces or the?
No, I got to see the McDonald's arches right off base, but we weren't allowed to leave base. Reason being is it was a time of war, and in those countries, a lot of times there's a price on our heads.
Oh yes.
You know, and if we don't have to leave base, they weren't letting us,
right.
And we never had to leave base. Now, we lucked out because a lot of the locals were really nice people, which is one thing I learned, because before I deployed, you see all the bad stuff, you see all the negative stuff on the news, the burning of the U.S. flag, you know, people yelling "Death to America." You get over there, and they go, "Oh, you're American? Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you."
Is that right?
Oh yeah, they would bring up.
That's good to know.
There were guys that would be giving me money. Just their money. They go, "Here, this is our money. You want to trade?" And so I'd give them a $1 bill, and they'd give me 100 Iraqi dinar or Saudi dinar.
But could you ever use it?
Or Saudi whatever. No, I usually collect stuff. For a long time, I was collecting foreign rare coins. Mm-hmm. I don't know where half my collection is now, including those. But I was collecting all that because I had a bunch of currency with Saddam's face on it because,
Oh.
not because I like the guy, but because when he's out of power,
Oh, right.
I was hoping that the value of that currency, just because
yes.
of what it is,
Absolutely.
would increase. And it's kind of a memento. But yeah, we had Domino's Pizza that was off base bring us pizzas. It was funny because we didn't know it was happening. Also, we see 3 vehicles driving towards the gate, and we weren't expecting anyone at this point. And they pull up to the gate and they go, "We got pizzas for the Americans." And
Oh, these were the Saudis that just
yeah,
brought them as
the
gifts?
owner of that pizza shop decided he wanted to bring us, I think it was something like 35 or 40 pizzas to the base. And working at the main gate, we have to check everyone
Now, could
in.
you accept those?
Yeah, well, our commanding officer accepted them. But working at the main gate, we have to inspect everything that comes in.
Right.
So we got first pick of the pizzas.
Because there's no telling that they could have
Right.
been poisoned.
But we got first pick of the pizzas. So we got all the good pizzas, and then we sent the other pizzas to the different shops.
So Domino's actually has business in Saudi Arabia. Wow.
Domino's, McDonald's, they're global entities.
Right,
But the Big Mac in Saudi Arabia is made with chicken, not beef.
Oh. Is that because of...
I have no idea why, but it was the strangest thing.
Well, they certainly don't eat pork, that's for sure.
Right.
Oh. Now, so have there been any... so do you foresee going to like the police academy, or is there a sheriff's school, or what's that other?
I've talked to the chief here in town already about attending the part-time police academy. He has said
Where is that?
there's several of them. It all depends on when I would be able to go, as probably to which one I would be able to go to. I think there's one in Foxborough though, which would be the closest and preferable one for me. But he said he would sponsor me, but I would have to come up with the money for it, which is about $1,200.
Oh. And how long does that last?
I'm not sure how long the part-time academy is. I did know. I looked it up a while back. I can't remember.
That's not a lot. I mean, it's not a great deal of money. I mean, you're not
right
talking
now,
about thousands and thousands.
right, but I just can't afford it right now. And so there's also colleges that offer courses in it, but again, money's tight for me right now.
Well, that would be more money, yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you working now, Mark?
My family owns our own business. We have several dry cleaners,
Oh,
including one here in town.
which one is that?
KMK Cleaners. Really? Yes.
No. Now, did you recently buy that, or I'm going to say recently? Was it like about maybe 10 years ago? I thought it changed hands. Am I right about
the
that?
one in Norfolk, I know we bought that a while. I don't know exactly how long ago. The interesting point about that is, well, one, I remember when it was the post office.
That's right. Yes, that's
again,
exactly right.
showing
That
some
little
age.
tiny. All they had was post office boxes, wasn't there?
No,
Was there
you can
actually?
go
Could
in
you
it.
actually
Yeah.
buy?
The flagpole that was on the side of the post office is still there.
Oh, okay.
But my uncle, when they closed that down, my uncle had the dry cleaners before we did. And he bought it from his father, but he opened up the shop in Norfolk. And then when we bought the business, we bought that shop from him. So
Oh, okay. All right. So you're often over there.
I'm usually, right now, typically in our Walpole location.
Oh, okay.
And I tend to bounce between the Walpole and the Westwood location.
Oh, very good. And so have there been any have you so far right now you haven't had to go into court or done any of that yet?
No.
So has Mr. Terrio has kind of taken some of those more complicated cases, or
Probably. I haven't been offered any of them.
Yes.
I would take them if I was offered them. If someone approaches me and says, "Hey, we want you to serve these papers," I'll do it. Mm-hmm. The first year I wasn't really focusing on that.
Yes, I understand.
Because I didn't want to go through and get all the business cards made up, get all the stuff made up, and then they'd be useless
right
later on.
Right.
So after this election, I'm gonna start getting the business cards made up. I'm gonna go to lawyers and say, if you need to serve someone, let me know. The way I understand the laws is I can serve in Norfolk to anyone, and if someone wants me to serve outside of Norfolk, the judge has
You have to go to court to do that.
Right.
don't you?
The judge has to issue a Form 4C, granting me temporary constable authority
Right.
in that area, and then I can serve the papers there. Without that, I can't legally do it.
Right. And then now tell us. Tell us about the campaign that you're running now. Are you getting your signs out, or what are you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get
What
my
do you-
signs
what-
out. Right now, I tend to be working a lot of hours, so it's really tough for me. But if someone would like to put my sign out in their yard, they can email me.
We'll put that on the screen for you.
Yeah.
Or you can tell us. And then,
It's electflaherty at yahoo.com, and just give me your name and your address, and I'll respond to your email, and I will put the sign out there as soon as I can.
and are you planning to make phone calls or?
No, unfortunately I really don't have the time to do
Yes,
that.
that's true.
And,
But you're
and
not working evenings, though, right?
I'm usually working from 8 in the morning until about 7 or 8 at night. So I'm working a lot of hours.
Yes.
Because with the economy being the way it is, I it's a family business. I
Yes.
got to put in the hours.
Right.
And I got to do it to help out the family.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Now, do you have siblings?
Yes, I have a brother and a sister. Unfortunately, my brother passed away about 7 years ago.
Oh. A younger brother?
Actually, almost 8. Well, next year will be 8 years, I think. Yeah, he's the younger brother. He passed away in 2006 from a traumatic brain injury.
Good Lord. Was he in an accident?
He was crossing the street in Newton and was struck and killed by a car.
Oh, my God. It must have been so terribly hard for the family.
Yeah, it was really tough for a really long time. Still kind of a tough subject.
Oh, sure.
He was rushed to, originally they were taking him to Newton Wellesley Hospital because he was going to LaSalle College out in Newton.
Oh, yes.
And so on the way to Newton Wellesley, when the ambulance was calling, say, hey, we're on the way with a pedestrian struck by a motor vehicle. This is the condition. They said, whoa, no, you got to get him to a level 1 trauma.
Right.
Like now. And so they had to change course and go to Beth Israel. So when we got to Beth Israel, they had informed us that there was a traumatic brain injury and that there was, in their opinion, almost no hope. Which was absolutely devastating.
Oh, yeah.
We ended up making the decision based on the kind of guy my brother was, that we would donate his organs, and he saved so many lives with the organs that were donated. Half of his or part of his liver went to a 6-month-old baby girl who was,
Really?
according to the reports we got, she was days away from dying of liver failure. And last we heard, she's doing really well.
Because the liver regenerates.
Yes. A couple of the people that got an organ of his have since passed away, but they got that
more
much
time.
more time with their family and their loved ones.
Oh, it's a wonderful thing to do.
It is kind of heartwarming, that something like that can be brought out of a tragedy.
Right.
And then my sister started a foundation in my brother's name that we raise money and donate that money to Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, to their head trauma department, and trying to find a cure for brain injuries.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really that is heartwarming is the word. Now, so you what do you expect to do now? Will you expect, if you win this election, now do you think you'll continue on with police work? I mean, do you like it enough, or do you think you'd eventually stray back to the cooking,
what the constable? So I think I'll do this job as a constable for as long as the people of Norfolk will let me. That's one of the things about an elected position is I serve at the whim of the public.
Right.
You know? And so if they say, we don't want you anymore, we want someone else, then I have no choice but to respect that decision.
That's right.
And so as long as they keep putting their faith in me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep doing my best to do the job the right way.
Right. I know in some towns they're appointed.
Yes. I think Norfolk had talked about trying to do that, just like they had talked about trying to do that with the town clerk's position. I'm not a big fan of a lot of appointed positions because then it's, oh, so-and-so is friends
Oh,
with
absolutely.
so-and-so who's a selectman. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
now we're going to give him the job, not nod, not nod, wink,
Oh,
wink,
yes,
Bob's your
exactly.
uncle. It doesn't work for me because then you're only accountable to your friends.
Right.
Where,
Right.
on the school committee, I'm accountable to the public. As a constable, I'm accountable to the public. So, let's say that hypothetically there's a selectman that doesn't like me, which there might be. I don't answer to him.
Right.
Okay, I answer to the people of Norfolk, and
Right.
if they don't like me and they don't vote for me, then I don't hold the position.
Exactly.
I'm not in this to play the politics game.
Well, I think a lot of people in Massachusetts, with a lot of these decisions that are being handed down by these very liberal judges, are wishing. I mean, it'll never happen, but wishing that the judges were elected.
Right.
Because you're right.
Well,
That whole
the judges are kind of elected in a backdoor kind of way because while the governor announces who he wants to be the judge, the governor's council confirms.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
There's a governor's council that does
Okay.
the confirmation that says, yes, we're gonna.
Of course, he appoints them, doesn't he?
No, they're elected.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
So, we pick on ballots. I don't know how often we pick our governor's council representative. Now, unfortunately, in this state, it's heavily leaning to one direction.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
One party.
Deval Patrick will get whoever he wants, basically. Mm-hmm. And so, it's kind of a backdoor kind of election.
Right,
but
right.
There's still no accountability for them.
Right.
They could be impeached, but it never happens.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
I mean, we could recall our representatives, but it never happens.
Exactly. I mean, it's just gotten, Beacon Hill has gotten ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But I think we're just about out of time. But it was lovely speaking to you. I'm so glad you
same
were
here.
able to come on, and thank you so much.
Oh, anytime.
And good luck.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching State and Local. Don't forget that the election is May 6th, and the town meeting is May 13th. So we want everybody to attend both of those. And thank you for watching Norfolk Public Access. I'm Anne Marie Battistone.